This is ATN Global News. First, the headlines. PDP denies accepting court ruling. This owns Ologunagba's claim. Appeal court upholds Abure as Labour Party national chairman. Tinubu lauds late Deputy Chief Whip Onanuga's legacy. Nigeria's local petroleum oil consumption hits 54.6%. Biden grants clemency to 2,500 non-violent drug offenders. Haaland signs 10-year contract with Manchester City. Actress Joan Plowright dies at 95. Crisis within the People's Democratic. The National Working Committee has not yet convened to address the court ruling on the Rivers State executives, contrary to claims made by its National Publicity Secretary, Debo Ologunagba. At a press conference in Abuja on Friday, PDP National Publicity Secretary Ibrahim Abdullahi expressed concerns over Ologunagba's recent actions, describing them as motivated by personal interest. Recall that on January 13, 2025, the Rivers State High Court issued a restraining order preventing the executive committees led by Aaron Chukwuemeka, aligned with Wike, from functioning. The court also granted an injunction prohibiting these executives from serving as PDP officers in the state. In response, Ologunagba issued a statement on Thursday claiming that the PDP had accepted the court ruling. He announced that the NWC recognized Honorable Name Robinson Airwalls Group, aligned with Governor Fubara, as a legitimate state executives. However, in a new development, Abdullahi refuted Ologunagba on the Rivers State Congresses. Abdullahi further criticized Ologunagba for similar unauthorized statements regarding judgments in Imo and Ebonyi State, emphasizing that the Publicity Secretary does not have the authority to speak for the NWC without prior approval. Analysts have cautioned the Nigerian judiciary to remove miscreants parading themselves as judges in the system. Speaking on Atlantic Television Network program Open Conversation, political analyst Chris Oka stated that someone who did not contest election to be chairman of a party should not be made chairman of such political party.
But this, if on a normal situation, if you go to court and say, okay, you are not satisfied with this Congress, please nullify this Congress. The court ought to order for fresh Congresses in Rivers State. It's not to bring somebody who from nowhere. What it means, like I said, I don't belong to the PDP. I can go to court tomorrow to say, court, for one reason or the other, I want to become the chairman of PDP in Rivers, and the court will grant me. When you look at all these things, and I've said that the judiciary needs to put itself of some of the bad acts. I don't know on what ground that the judge granted such order.
Speaking further, Mr. Oka said Aaron Chukwuemeka remains the chairman of the People's Democratic Party in Rivers State.
So the way it is, Aaron Chukwuemeka is still in charge, but because of what that boy is doing, that's why the Supreme Court. That's when you will now say we will now go by whatever decision the Supreme Court.
Recall that the crisis rocking the Rivers State chapter of the People's Democratic Party took a new twist on Thursday when the police took over the party's secretariat on Aba Road in Port Harcourt. Economic and Financial Crimes Commission Uyo Command has secured the conviction and sentence of Olufonsho Dayo Chevy and Uwem Udon Inya for oil theft, alongside the vessel MT New Angel and the company Eddie Eurolink Distribution. They were sentenced to a fine of 20 million naira, translating to 5 million naira each, to be paid into the federal government's account. The head of media and publicity at EFCC, Dele Oyewale, in a statement on Friday, confirmed that the convicts were sentenced by Justice Ijoma Ojukwu of the Federal High Court, Calabar, on Monday, January 13, 2025, on the one-count charge of stealing and unlicensed dealing in petroleum products. Meanwhile, 9 other suspects remain at large, according to the EFCC statement. Oyewale said the convicts pleaded guilty to the charge when it was read to them, after which prosecution counsel Joshua Abolarin reviewed the facts of the case, presented evidence, and urged the court to convict and sentence them as charged. Defense counsel Chris Okedaka and Cyprian Afahanem requested the court to temper justice with mercy, arguing that the clients were first-time offenders. The convicts were arrested by the Nigerian Navy ship Victory and handed over to the EFCC on July 30, 2024. Edo State Governor Senator Monday Okpebholo has approved the employment of 360 citizens from the 3 senatorial districts into the civil service. In a statement released on Friday by the governor's chief press secretary, Fred Itwa, it was revealed that the newly recruited cleaners have been deployed to various ministries and parastatals to strengthen the workforce. The state head of the service, Dr. Anthony Okungboa, disclosed this in his office in Benin City while briefing the press on the steps taken by the Okpebholo-led administration to embark on people-centered initiatives. Okungboa explained that the previous administration relied on contractors and consultants to manage cleaning services, which left workers vulnerable to job insecurity and low pay. He noted that those employed by the present administration would receive the 70,000 minimum wage paid to all Edo State workers, demonstrating the Okpebholo administration's commitment to delivering good governance across all sectors. Abia State Governor Alex Oti has advocated a multifaceted approach with intelligence-driven strategies in combating drug abuse. Oti spoke when he received the delegation of the new state commander, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Nnamdi Wilfred, in Mvosi in the Ishialangwa South local government area of the state. He frowned at the evolving nature of the drug menace and its impact on criminal activities in the country. The governor also underscored the need for collaborative efforts between government and security agencies in combating all forms of crime and drug-related offenses, assuring that the state government would give the needed support to fight all forms of criminality in the state. According to him, the fight against drugs has metamorphosed into something a bit more difficult because society is now dealing with a wide range of issues. The governor also emphasized the role of education in crime prevention and expressed optimism that with a free and compulsory education for school-aged children in primary and secondary school, children vulnerable to drug abuse and criminality will reduce significantly. Earlier, the state commander NDLEA said that he came on a familiarization visit, having resumed as the NDLEA commander last December. He expressed his gratitude to Oti and his wife Priscilla for their involvement in carrying out awareness campaigns against drug abuse as well as the rehabilitation of illicit. Said she was on her way to Alam Mala for Armed Forces Remembrance Day when the security detail saw the crowd and told her driver to make a detour, which the driver did without any ado. The deputy governor added that she returned to her residence to allow the crowd to pass and later went to where she was headed on behalf of the governor, Prince Dakpo Abiodun. Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Mojisola Miranda, has pledged to collaborate with other arms of government to achieve the vision of a greater Lagos. Miranda, who presided over our first session as Speaker on Friday, announced the appointment of new principal officers to steer the affairs of the House. The Lagos Speaker named Temitope Adedeji, representing Ifako Ijaye Constituency 1, as the majority leader, while Richard Kasunmu, representing Ikeja Constituency 2, was appointed Deputy Majority Leader. David Setoni, Constituency 1, as Deputy Chief Whip. The Speaker also announced the composition of the selection committee, which she will chair. Members include Deputy Speaker Fatai Mojid, Ibejo Lekki Constituency 1, Majority Leader Temitope Adedeji, Chief Whip David Tonji, and Bolahan Ishawu, Etiosa Constituency 2. Acting Clerk Taiwo Otun will serve as Secretary of the committee. In her address, Miranda expressed gratitude to her colleagues for entrusting her with the leadership of the 10th Assembly, pledging to work diligently in service to the state. Governor of Benue State, Hyacinth Alia, has expressed deep sorrow over the death of 10 individuals in a tragic accident in the Okete community, Ohimini local government area of the state. The unfortunate incident occurred early Thursday when a truck crashed into a building, claiming the lives of no fewer than 10 people. In a condolence message issued through his chief press secretary, Tesu Kula, Alia said it is with a heavy heart that he extends his deepest sympathies to the families affected by the tragic accident in Okete community, Ohimini local government area, adding that the loss of 10 precious lives in such a devastating manner has plunged the state into mourning. The governor further assured the public that the state government is committed to conducting thorough investigations to prevent future occurrences of such tragic incidents. He also prayed for the souls of the departed to rest in peace and for God to grant comfort and strength to the grieving families, while calling on friends and community members to support the affected families during this difficult time. Nigerian Police Force has uncovered an illegal weapons manufacturing factory in the Akamape area of Kwande local government area, Benue State, in a well-coordinated operation that underscores its commitments to internal security. This was revealed in a press statement issued by the Nigerian Police Force's Public Relations Officer Olumuyiwa Adejobi, where it was also announced that the police in separate operations also carried out the arrest of a cult leader in Delta State and the apprehension of 2 suspects for separate murders in Kebbi State. During the raid in Benue State on January 11, the police arrested 2 suspects, Friday Adudua Kampe and Lowashima Loyume, also known as AK, age 35. A search of the factory yielded a cache of weapons and manufacturing tools, including 9 locally fabricated pistols, 1 unfinished locally made AK-47 rifle, 2 gas cylinders, 4 vice machines, and a filing machine, among numerous other items used in the illegal production of firearms. In a separate operation in Delta State, officers acting on credible intelligence raided an apartment belonging to Prosper Akeni, a 32-year-old suspected member of the AE confraternity. The raid uncovered an English revolver pistol, a Beretta pistol, 4 locally made guns, a locally made revolver pistol, and 25 rounds of ammunition. Akeni, identified as the cult group's hitman, confessed that the weapons belonged to his group and he was tasked with safeguarding them as their leader. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Adiolu Egbetokun, praised the operatives for the success of the raid and reiterated the force's determination to tackle crime and ensure national safety. He urged officers to sustain their proactive approach in combating criminal activities while appealing to citizens to provide useful information that could aid similar operations. Analysts have said that the fight against insurgency in Nigeria is unusual. Speaking on Atlantic Television Network program Atlantic Blowout, social political analyst Chidi Okoro Esquire said Nigerian military should collaborate with the international communities in order to be trained on how to tackle insecurity in the country.
Call them in the north is not a conventional war. They come like it's a guerrilla warfare, you know. So our people need to step up in their training, resurfaced, and resumed their attacks on the civilian.
Recall that following multiple attacks by Boko Haram terrorists in the southern Borno senatorial district, particularly in Damboa and Chibok, which resulted in the deaths of dozens and the destruction of churches and residential houses in Bamze, Jinlang, Shekake, and other communities, a fresh attack was reported in Yimiri Mugza village of Chibok. Troops of the 6th Brigade Nigerian Army under Sector 3 of Operation Wells Stroke have apprehended a suspected gun owner in Taraba State. The suspect, who was arrested on January 13, 2025 in Gaso local government area of the state, was identified as Alhaji Adamu Usman. In a statement made available to journalists in Jalingo by the acting spokesperson of the brigade, Captain Oni Olubodunde, items including a fabricated submachine gun were recovered from him. Elated by the development, Brigadier General Kingsley Chidebere Owa, commander of the 6th Brigade Nigerian Army, praised the troops for their gallantry and professionalism in executing the operation. He reaffirmed the brigade's commitment to maintaining peace and combating the proliferation of illegal arms in the state. He urged the public to continue providing credible information to security agencies to help address security challenges effectively. Kebbi State Police Command has arrested 2 suspects in connection with separate murder cases in Shanga and Zuru local government areas. In a statement released on Friday, the command spokesperson, CSP Nafiu Abubakar, detailed the incidents. He said on December 31, 2024, at about 8 p.m., Yunusa Haruna, 25, of Bakin Turu village in Shanga local government area, was arrested for allegedly stabbing his elder brother, Isiyaku Haruna, to death. According to police reports, the suspect used a sharp knife during an altercation with his brother. Officers from the Shanga local has explained that the power outage being experienced in parts of the federal government territory is due to 40 132 kilovolt lines 182 from the Katampi to 85 Central Area Transmission Station. The DISCO disclosed this in a statement on Friday through its official X account. AEDC said areas affected at Federal Secretariat will say Zone 1 to 7, Central Mosque, Energy Commission Transcorp Hotel, Eagle Square, Yaradua Center, the entire Central Area, TCN headquarters, CAC headquarters, NYSC headquarters, INEC, the entire Maitama, Kado Estate, parts of Jabi District, Area 7 and 8 and 10, Gaki and its environs. Although the DISCO did not state exactly when the power supply will be restored to affected areas, it said the Transmission Company of Nigeria is investigating the cause and fixing the blackout. Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps Federal Capital Territory Command on Friday paraded 36 scavengers arrested across Abuja for alleged involvement in criminal activities, including vandalism and theft of public infrastructure. Addressing journalists, the FCT Commandant Olushola Odumosu disclosed that the suspects were apprehended in various parts of the city center and suburbs as part of an ongoing crackdown on scavengers, locally known as Baba Mbola. The arrest followed directives from the Federal Capital Territory Minister Nyesom Wike to ban scavenging in the territory and suspend commercial activities in Panteka markets for 2 weeks. The commandant, the information officer of Operation Safe Haven, Major Samson Zakom, revealed this to newsmen in Jos, the state capital, saying that the rescued victims have been reunited with their families after profiling and documentation by relevant agencies. Zakom said the victims were rescued during an offensive operation carried out between the borders of Taraba and Plateau State. According to him, the operation also led to the apprehension of some of the criminals and the recovery of dangerous weapons, including ammunition and firearms. Meanwhile, troops of Sector 5 on Golden Peace operations said they captured 5 bandits at a criminal hideout in the Taragon areas of Bokos local government area, Plateau, with several items recovered from the criminals, including fabricated rifles, rounds of 7.62mm special cartridges and daggers. In the same vein, the troops intercepted bandits at Janares in the Manguluku government area while they were attempting to cause mayhem in the general area. The arrested suspects are to be handed over to the appropriate authorities for prosecution while investigations are ongoing. You're watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We will be back after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. This is the global news on our Atlantic Television Network, and now to the rest of our stories. President Bola Tinubu has mourned the death of the Deputy Chief Whip of the House of Representatives and representative of the Ikenne Sagamu Remo North Federal Constituency of Ogun State, Adewumi Onanuga. ATN reports that Onanuga passed away on Wednesday after a brief illness. In a statement issued by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, on Friday, Tinubu described the late lawmaker as a dedicated servant of our constituency and an inspiration for women in politics. The statement noted Onanuga's role as chairperson of the House Committee on Women Affairs and Social Development in the 9th Assembly and as Deputy Chief Whip in the current 10th Assembly. On behalf of the federal government, the President and Ministry of not defending its budget before the Senate. Reacting to the objections from Senator Ningi, Senator Jimu Ibrahim said the renewed hope agenda of the ministry is very much on course.
How I wish is not the state minister that is in our midst today. How I wish is the minister. The Ministry of Housing, even though the permanent secretary is new, the state minister is new, thought the only role of the National Assembly is this yearly ritual. Bring the budget, and then nothing happens until next year. And this is exactly what the Ministry of Housing does under the President's leadership. First, I have not seen building like a house chairman.
The decision to reject the budget was unanimously adopted by all members of the committee. Nigerians in Diaspora Commission has revealed that Nigerians living abroad remitted about 60 billion naira to the country during their visit in December 2024. Chairman of the commission, Abike Dabiri Erewa, made the revelation at the National Assembly when she appeared before the Joint Committee on Diaspora to defend the Commission's 2025 budget. She disclosed that remittances alone in the last 5 years have exceeded $90 billion, describing the expenditure as a testament to the diaspora's growing impacts on the Nigerian economy. While praising Nigerians in diaspora for their contributions as well as growing interest.
A lot, and they're coming back. But we're not talking enough about it, and we're not celebrating it enough. So we're hoping that this year we can do more of that. And also part of what we have on our screen is to show you, we're working on diaspora businesses, both abroad and here. Those who have their business abroad and are setting up here. So next December, they spend about 54 billion in Lagos. And I think they are going beyond Lagos. Working with them, they come to every state.
House of Representatives has expressed concern over the conversion of residential areas to commercial and semi-industrial areas. The House raised the concern when the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, Dr. Shuaib Belgo, appeared to defend the 2024 budget performance and 2025 proposal of the ministry. Chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Urban Development and Regional Planning, Honorable Awaji Inombeg Abiante, said beyond the provision of housing, there is need for proper town planning, else it will lead to the creation of slums, noting that part of the challenge in this regard is an enabling act as it pertains to town planning. He hinted that the House have commenced the process of repealing and reenact the law, especially the ones that concerns and relates with the profession of town planning. Abiante also expressed displeasure with the pace of work on the renewed Hope Estate. In his response, the Permanent Secretary said on the regulation of...
means that 4 sites in 4 states of each geopolitical zone, including 4 sites in FCT, bringing the total to 100 sites. Therefore, we need at least 100 billion for this to make sure we achieve better results.
Federal government has announced that starting from the end of January, local government areas across Nigeria will begin receiving their allocations directly from the Federal Allocation Accounts Committee, marking a significant step towards local government autonomy. The special advisor to the president on media and public communications, Sunday Dare, made this disclosure to journalists today. He reiterated President Bola Tinubu's commitments to implementing the Supreme Court's landmark July 2024 judgment, which declared state control over local government funds unconstitutional. In the judgment delivered by Justice Emmanuel Agbim, the Supreme Court ruled that allocations to local governments must be paid directly or through state governments. However, due to the inefficiency of the latter approach, the court mandated direct payments to local councils. The judgment was the result of a suit filed by the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi San, advocating for the financial autonomy of Nigeria's 774 local government areas. Although the ruling was made in July 2024, its implementation was delayed to ensure proper mechanisms were in place for seamless direct payments. Dare stressed that while the federal government often faces criticism, attention must also shift to how states and local governments utilize their resources. He also called for increased scrutiny of financial management at the state and local government levels. Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa has charged personnel of the Nigerian Armed Forces to ensure that innocent citizens are not killed or harmed during operations. Musa gave the warning during an official working visit to the Nigerian Defense Academy in Kaduna State on Friday, where he inaugurated several completed projects to improve the welfare and training of cadets. The CDS also asked the cadets and officers to gear up with the dynamic nature of warfare, especially with the emergence of artificial intelligence in the fight against insecurity, warning that the days of officers abandoning their duties to self-aggrandizement are over and won't be tolerated. Musa reminded them about the enormous task ahead of them and why they must brace up to the challenges of defending their fatherland against any threat. He, however, warned that no form of soft landing for any officer, as they will be posted to difficult terrains as junior commanders to protect the citizens and the country against any threat. Speaking, the commandant of the NDA, Major General John Ochai, stressed the importance of leveraging information technology to combat terrorism, banditry, and other emerging security challenges confronting the country. Okai noted the effective use of information communication technology, ICT, in modern warfare and counter-terrorism operations. He also highlighted the NDA's efforts to integrate IT into its training programs, aiming to equip cadets with the necessary skills to tackle contemporary and emerging security concerns. Police Service Commission has approved the appointment of AIG in charge of Border Patrol Force Headquarters Abuja, Banji Lawal, as a substantive Deputy Inspector General of Police representing the Southwest Geopolitical Zone. A statement signed by the Commission's head Press and Public Relations, Ikechukwu Ani, said Lawal was appointed at an extraordinary on Friday. Lawal takes over from DIG Sylvester Alabi, who represented the zone and retired on the 31st of December 2024. Alabi was the DIG in charge of the Force Criminal Investigation Department. The new DIG was a former Commandant Police Training College, Ikeja, Lagos Assistant Commissioner Operations, Ekiti State Command, Abia State Command, and Edo State Command. He later became Area Commander Uyu, Deputy Commissioner Operations, Nasarawa State, Deputy Commissioner Operations, Akwa Ibom State, and Deputy Commissioner Finance and Admin ICT Force Headquarters Abuja. He was also Deputy Commissioner and Deputy Registrar, Central Criminal Registry CCRO Force Headquarters Annex, Alagbon Close, Ikoyi, DCP Finance and Administration, Benue State, Deputy Commandant Police Academy, Wudil Kano, and CP General Investigation Force, CID. The PSC chairman congratulated him on his elevation and charged him to make himself relevant in the police management team. Universal Basic Education Commission has warned Nigerians against fake sites for the recruitment of teachers in the country. Speaking in an interview with newsmen in Abuja, the Commission's Public Relations Officer David Ape said the recruitment sites making the rounds on social media were fake. Reports indicated that Nigerians have been visiting the recruitment sites. Recall that the former Minister of State for Education, Yusuf Sununu, had earlier said the federal government would recruit 3,500 teachers for its unity colleges. Sununu, who spoke at a two-day National Stakeholders Forum on senior secondary education in Nigeria, said the recruitment would improve the country's quality of education. Reacting to the inability to log onto the sites, APE said such recruitment sites did not emanate from the commission, as there are no intention to recruit teachers for now. National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party has reaffirmed Senator Samuel Anyanwu as the party's national secretary in compliance with the recent ruling by the Court of Appeal, Abuja Division. Addressing the journalists at the World Press Conference in Abuja on Friday, the PDP Deputy National Publicity Secretary Ibrahim Abdullahi emphasized the party's obligation to respect the court's decision. He assured that the party would also provide legal representation to defend its position when the motion on notice is heard on January 8 and February 5, 2025. He explained that the injunction alongside the stay of execution order from the Court of Appeal Abuja Division restrains the PDP and its leadership from removing Anyanwu as National Secretary until the Supreme Court resolves the appeal. He stressed that the party is committed to adhering to the rule of law while awaiting the Supreme Court's decision. The PDP has been engulfed in a leadership crisis worsened by disputes over the National Secretary position. The controversy arose when the PDP Southeast Zone nominated former National Youth Leader Sunday Ude Okoye to replace Anyanwu after he emerged as the party's governorship candidate for the Imo State election. However, the Court of Appeal in Abuja recently ruled that Anyanwu should remain in the position until the matter is resolved. Abdullahi urged all party members to remain patient and abide by the court's directive. Court of Appeal in Abuja has declared that Julius Abure remains the national chairman of the Labour Party. A three-member panel of the appellate court in a judgment delivered by Justice Hama Baraka held that its judgment of November 13, 2024, which recognized Abure as national chairman, subsists and has not been set aside by any court. Baraka made the declaration on Friday while delivering judgments in two separate appeals filed by Senator Esther Nenadi Usman and the Caretaker Committee and the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The appellate court in the two separate appeals held that it did not delve into the issue of leadership of the Labour Party because such issues are not justifiable. According to the appellate court, anything that is done outside jurisdiction amounts to a nullity. Hence, the judgment of the Federal High Court delivered on October 8, 2024 by Justice Emeka Nwite is of no effect because it was delivered without jurisdiction. While striking out the suits for want of jurisdiction, he held that the appellates relied on its previous judgment of November 13 last year to hold that Abure remains national chairman of the Labour Party. And now on to business news. Dangote Petroleum Refinery is planning to import more crude oil as supply from the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited becomes insufficient for fuel production at the $20 billion Lekki-based facility. Officials at the plant said the facility has ramped up production to about 500,000 barrels per day, with the target of hitting the 650,000 barrel per day mark by June this year. While affirming that the Naira for crude deal is still on as directed by President Bola Tinubu last year, the sources who spoke in confidence due to lack of authorization to speak to the press maintained that the facility will have to import more crude to meet its target. For the 650,000 capacity refinery, the NNPC is reportedly struggling to supply 350,000 barrels per day from the 450,000 barrels per day crude meant for Nigeria's local consumption. With its current production capacity of 500,000 barrels per day, officials said there is a need to look beyond the shores of Nigeria for the feedstock. According to them, the claim is not that the NNPC cannot supply crude, but that the feedstock needed by the refinery daily cannot be solely supplied by the state-owned oil company. Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry has criticized the federal government for its delay in implementing the duty-free food importation policy, particularly following the arrival of a 32,000-ton shipment of brown rice from Thailand in Lagos. The rice imported through logistics firm Ducat was intended to mitigate the escalating food inflation, which drops to 39.84% in December 2024 from the November 2024 rate of 39.93%. The LCCI noted that the shipment arrived after the expiration of the government's 180-day duty-free import window, raising concerns about the policy's effectiveness and timing. In a statement made available to newsmen, LCCI Director General Chinyere Almona said the delayed arrival of the rice shipment undermines the government's intention to curb food inflation. The chamber highlighted that despite the government's efforts, food prices remain on an upward trajectory, significantly affecting household purchasing power and business operations. The LCCI clarified that such interventions are not aimed at undermining local rice producers, but at addressing supply gaps in the face of mounting demand. The LCCI Director General recommended that to tackle the persistent food inflation crisis, Nigeria must boost agricultural productivity by increasing investment in agricultural value chains, including better storage facilities and the distribution of fertilizers and grains to farmers. The chamber reiterated its call for fiscal reforms, emphasizing that tackling structural economic challenges and investing in local production would yield long-term benefits. Nigeria's reliance on locally sourced petroleum oil has reached 54.6%, according to recent data released by the Raw Materials Research and Development Council. This was disclosed in a statement on Friday by the Director of Corporate Affairs at the RMRDC, Chukuma Ngaya. The council highlighted the increasing utilization of domestic resources while emphasizing the urgent need for greater value addition to raw materials before export. The newly launched quarterly statistical bulletin series by the RMRDC provides valuable insights into Nigeria's trade performance, raw material utilization, and economic opportunities. The report, which covers data from the first quarter of 2024, noted that while petroleum oil remains the most utilized mineral in Nigeria, there is a critical need to improve local processing and value addition. The Director General and CEO of the RMRDC, Professor Nanyelugo Ike Monso, underscored the importance of sustainable solutions, stating Nigeria's manufacturing sector contributes only about 3% of the nation's foreign exchange earnings, while over 30% of our imports bill is linked to raw materials and intermediate goods that could otherwise be sourced locally. The report also reviewed Nigeria's continued dependence on imports, especially in the energy sector. Total imports in the first quarter of 2024 were valued at 2.3 trillion naira, with energy materials accounting for over 1.5 trillion naira of the total. This highlights the nation's vulnerability to external supply chains and the need to optimize. That Nigeria's economy will grow by 3.5% in 2025 and improve slightly to 3.7% in 2026, driven by increased services sector activity and gradual improvements in macroeconomic stability. These forecasts, detailed in the World Bank's latest Global Economic Prospects report, suggest a steady but modest recovery for Nigeria amidst ongoing domestic and global challenges. Growth in Nigeria increased to an estimated 3.3% in 2024, primarily driven by strong performance in the services sector, notably in financial and telecommunications services. The World Bank noted that Nigeria's projected growth for 2025 and 2026 would be supported by gradually declining inflation following monetary tightening measures in 2024. This is expected to boost domestic consumption and further support the services sector, which remains the main driver of economic growth. The report highlighted that growth in Nigeria alongside South Africa contributed to a rise in the regional average to 2.2% in 2024. You are still watching the news on Atlantic Television Network. Up next is International Tidbits. South Sudan's police on Friday imposed a nationwide curfew from 6 p.m. following a night of deadly rioting in the capital over the alleged killing by the army and allied groups in neighboring Sudan. Police Chief Abraham Peter Monyat, in a broadcast on state television, said the curfew would continue until further notice from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. daily, with the aim to resolve security and prevent the destruction of property, adding that the police will not tolerate any violations. In a statement, the police said at least 3 people had been killed and 7 wounded on Thursday night in South Sudan's capital, Juba. Some by bullets and machetes, when youths in several suburbs looted and vandalized shops of Sudanese people. The police further said that in Awel, near the border with Sudan, 3 houses belonging to Sudanese people were burned. It was gathered that on Friday, shops in many Juba suburbs were closed as police and other security forces tried to relocate Sudanese people to safer areas due to fears they could be attacked by rioters. The riots were said to have followed the alleged killing of South Sudanese people by members of Sudan's military and allied groups in the city of Wad Madani in Sudan's El Gezira region. Meanwhile, South Sudan's foreign ministry has summoned Sudan's ambassador over the alleged killings earlier this week, and President Salva Kiir Mayardit called for calm. Office of the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had on Friday said the Palestinian military group Hamas will release the first hostages under a Gaza ceasefire deal on Sunday, after 15 months of war that demolished the enclave. Local authorities said if successful, the ceasefire would halt fighting that has raged much of heavily urbanized Gaza, killing no fewer than 46,000 people, and displaced most of the tiny enclave's pre-war population of 2.3 million several times over. The ceasefire could also ease hostilities in the Middle East, where the Gaza war spread to include Iran and its proxies, Lebanon's Hezbollah, Yemen's Houthis, and armed groups in Iraq. It was gathered that under the 6-week first phase of the 3-stage deal, Hamas will release at least 33 Israeli hostages, including all women, soldiers, and civilians, children and men of over 50 years of age. According to the local authorities, Israel will release all Palestinian women and under 19 children detained in Israeli jails by the end of the first phase. It was further learned that the total number of Palestinians released will depend on hostages released and could be between 990 and 1,650 Palestinians, including men, women, and children. In a statement on Friday, Hamas said obstacles that arose in relation to the terms of the Gaza ceasefire agreement have been resolved. Israeli warplanes kept up intense strikes in Gaza, and the Civil Emergency Service on Friday said that at least 101 people, including 58 women and children, had been killed since the deal was announced on Wednesday. 36-year-old Nigerian Okeze Bonaventure Obata has pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit mail and wire fraud in connection with a transnational inheritance scam that defrauded over 400 victims, primarily elderly and vulnerable individuals, of more than $6 million. Obata entered the guilty plea in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Florida. Sentencing is scheduled for April 14, 2025, before Judge Roy K. Altman. If convicted, he faces a maximum penalty of 20 years in federal prison. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, the elaborate fraud operation spanned several years and involved personalized letters purporting to represent a Spanish bank. The letters falsely claimed recipients were entitled to multi-million-dollar inheritance from deceased relatives overseas. Victims were tricked into sending payments for supposed delivery fees, taxes, and other charges required releasing their inheritance funds. However, no funds existed, and the entire operation was a scam. Obata and his network used US-based accomplices, many of whom were former victims, to collect and transfer the stolen money. Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General Brian M. Boynton, head of the Justice Department's Civil Division, pointed out the significance of the international cooperation in combating such crimes. This is the second high-profile case involving the international fraud ring. Several co-conspirators have already been convicted and sentenced, including Ezinia Peter Nebo, extradited from Spain and sentenced to 128 months in prison. Kennedy Ikpom Wonsa, also extradited from Spain and sentenced to 97 months. Outgoing President of the United States, Joe Biden, on Friday granted clemency to at least 2,500 people convicted of non-violent drug offenses in what the White House called the largest single-day act of clemency in U.S. history. Biden, in a statement, said those whose state sentences were committed were serving disproportionately long sentences compared to what they receive. He described the move as an important step toward righting historical wrongs, correcting sentencing disparities, and providing deserving individuals with the opportunity to return to their families. The outgoing president added that he may issue further commutations or pardons before he hands over power to President-elect Donald Trump on Monday. ATN recalls that Biden commuted the sentences of nearly 1,500 people and pardoned 39 others last month. Among those pardoned in December was Biden's son, Hunter, who was facing a possible prison sentence after being convicted of gun and tax crimes. Meanwhile, Biden has reportedly been debating whether to issue blanket pardons for some allies and former officials amid fears they could be targeted for what Trump has previously called retribution. U.S. Supreme Court on Friday upheld a law that will ban TikTok in the United States, potentially denying the video sharing app to 170 million users within 2 days. In a significant defeat for TikTok, the court ruled that the law does not violate free speech rights and that the U.S. government had demonstrated legitimate national security concerns regarding the Chinese company owning the app. Last week, the Supreme Court heard arguments from ByteDance, the company behind TikTok, arguing that the law should be blocked as it violated free speech. With that decision, the ban set for Sunday will effectively stand, even as lawmakers and officials across the political spectrum called for some delay. Last year, Congress passed a law compelling ByteDance to either sell the platform or close it in the U.S. by January 19. The law was a response to widespread belief that in Washington that the popular app could be used by China for spying or propaganda. White House officials on Friday stated they would not enforce the ban, leaving the decision to President-elect Donald Trump, who takes office a day later. Trump confirmed that he had discussed TikTok in a phone conversation with Chinese President Xi Jinping on Friday. Russian missile attack on Friday killed no fewer than 4 people and partially destroyed an educational facility in the city of Kryvyi Rih in southern central Ukraine. The governor of the Dnipropetrovsk region, Sehel Lasak, disclosed this on Friday on Telegram, adding that at least 7 others were hurt, while some of them seriously injured. According to Lasak, 2 5-story buildings were also damaged and 1 caught fire. It was gathered that several explosions reverberated through the city after Ukraine's Air Force warned of the threat of a ballistic missile attack from Russia-occupied Crimea. Russia, which began its full-scale invasion of Ukraine almost 3 years ago, is yet to comment on the reports from Kryvyi Rih. Pakistani court on Friday convicted former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan and his wife Bushra Bibi in a landmark graft case, sentencing Khan to 14 years in prison. Khan, who has been held in custody since August 2023, was charged with around 200 cases, but his party, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, claimed the latest conviction was being used to pressure him to silence. The anti-graft court convened in the jail near the capital Islamabad, where Khan is being held, and convicted him and his wife over a welfare foundation they established together. The Al-Qaeda Trust. Khan maintains the cases are particularly motivated and designed to keep him from returning to power. The sentence has been delayed several times over the past months, with analysts saying the jail term was being used to pressure Khan into accepting a deal with the military to step back from politics. Since being ousted from power in 2022, Khan has launched an unprecedented campaign in which he has openly criticized the country's powerful generals. He's been previously handed 4 convictions, 2 of which have been overturned by the sentences in the other 2 cases were suspended, but he remained in prison over pending cases. Here now is ATN Sports News. Footballer identified as Adeyemi Adewale, 29, from Ilesha West football tag team, has tragically lost his life during a football match. ATN gathered that the tragedy occurred during the Adeleke Memorial Cup final held at Ataoja School of Science in Osogbo on Thursday, January 16, 2025. Confirming the development, the Osun State Police Command Public Relations Officer Yemisi Opalola, in a statement, disclosed that Adewale collapsed on the pitch during the match and was immediately rushed to the Osun State University Teaching Hospital for medical attention. The football tournament is hosted annually by the state governor Ademola Adeleke in honor of the late Isiaka Adetunji Adeleke, his elder brother and the first executive governor of Osun State, who passed away in April 2017. Manchester City striker Erling Haaland Haaland has signed in a new 10-year contract that will keep him at the club until the summer of 2034. The club announced on Friday the 24-year-old Norwegian, who joined City from Borussia Dortmund in 2022, has been a pivotal figure in the club's recent successes. His initial contract was set to expire in 2027, but the new deal reflects the club's confidence in Haaland's importance to their future. Reflecting on the new contract, Haaland expressed his delight at extending his stay. Haaland thanked his teammates, manager Pep Guardiola, and the City staff. Since his arrival, Haaland's impact has been nothing short of extraordinary. In his debut 2022-2023 season, he scored 52 goals across all competitions, the highest ever tally by a Premier League player in a single season, breaking the previous league record of 36 goals. His goals were instrumental in City's historic treble-winning campaign, which included the Premier League, FA Cup, and Champions League titles. In addition to collective success, Haaland garnered numerous individual accolades in his debut season, including the PFA Player of the Year, Premier League Player of the Year, Young Player of the Year, and the Football Writers Association Player of the Year awards. And now, entertainment news. Nigeria Police Force Zone 9 headquarters Umuahia has refuted a report alleging that the command arrested the president of the Actors Guild of Nigeria, Mr. Emeka Rollas. The command debunked the report through its public relations officer, CP Ihenatu Bruno Chukudera, who described the report as misleading. Chukudera stated that on January 9, 2025, the president of the Actors Guild of Nigeria held a meeting at a certain location in Umuahia. He pointed out that prior to the meeting, the president of the Guard had earlier petitioned against certain members, raising concerns about the activities which were under investigation by the command. He added that the aggrieved members alongside the president were addressed by the Assistant Inspector General of Police, AIG Suleiman Rusif, which, after the discussion, all parties returned to their homes without any act of arrest or intimidation. The command spokesperson stated clearly that no one was detained, including the president of the Guard. Joan Plowright, Tony Award-winning British actor and wife of Laurence Olivier, dies at 95. Plowright, who was one of Britain's most acclaimed stage and screen stars, passed away at the age of 95, as confirmed in a statement by her family. Her career spanned 60 years and included an Oscar nomination for the 1991 film Enchanted April. She married Olivier in 1961 after starring opposite him as his daughter in The Entertainer, and became a leading member of the National Theatre, which she set up. In 2014, she retired from the stage after losing her eyesight and being registered as blind. In a statement Friday, her family said Plowright died the previous day at Denby Hall, a retirement home for actors in southern England, surrounded by her loved ones. She was awarded the title of Dame by Queen Elizabeth II in 2004. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we go, another look at the major stories. PDP denies accepting court ruling, disowns Olugunagba's claim. Appeal Court upholds Abure as Labour Party. National Chairman Tinubu lauds late Deputy Chief Whip Onanuga's legacy. Nigeria's local petroleum oil consumption hits 54.6